Meeting people online isn't as strange as some think. There's always skepticism, of course. People disguise themselves too easily, hiding behind screens, pretending to be someone they're not. I've heard the horror stories, the warnings from friends and family. But from my own experiences, the reality isn't that dramatic. Some people are a little odd, sure, but most, they're just regular people. Funny, interesting, sometimes even better in person than they are online. I've met a handful of friends this way. We bonded over shared interests, late night conversations, mutual struggles with school or work. Every time I was careful, filtering people, making sure they weren't strange or suspicious before agreeing to meet. It's all about instinct and caution. That's why I felt no hesitation about this meeting. I met him in an online community, one that revolved around academic discussions and project collaboration. He was active in the group, always quick to help, always offering thoughtful insights. He wasn't just intelligent, he was kind. There was something reassuring about him, the way he carried conversations, his patience when explaining things. When I struggled with my school project, he stayed up late to help, guiding me step by step until I finally understood. It wasn't just his knowledge that impressed me. He had a way of making people feel at ease. He never overstepped, never asked anything too personal. When I thanked him for his help, he brushed it off like it was nothing. But I wanted to show my appreciation, so I invited him to dinner, a small way of saying thanks. From the pictures he shared, he was young, well-dressed, and honestly, quite handsome. A clean-cut look, with warm eyes, and a smile that seemed genuine. I imagined meeting him in person would be just as pleasant. We decided on a quiet restaurant in the city, a decent place, nothing too extravagant, but good enough for a proper meal. The day before our meetup, my mother asked me to run an errand. She was preparing to bake a cake for my father's birthday, something she did every year without fail. This time, she was missing a key ingredient, fresh dairy, something she insisted had to be bought the day before for the best taste. She handed me a short list, telling me it wouldn't take long. I didn't mind. It was a simple request, and our plans for the birthday were already set. My parents had arranged to have dinner together, just the two of them, a rare chance to enjoy a quiet evening without interruption. Afterward, when I returned from my dinner meetup, we'd gather as a family, cut the cake, sing the usual song, share a moment together. A simple, decent plan. At least that's what I thought. I pulled into the parking lot, barely paying attention to my surroundings, until I heard the laughter, sharp and mocking, the kind that sent a strange discomfort crawling up my spine. A group of teenagers stood near the entrance, their movements quick and taunting. Something small flew between them, an object being tossed from one to another, just out of reach of the frail woman in their midst. Her purse. She lurched forward, arms outstretched, fingers desperate to grasp it. But she was slow, her aged body betraying her. Every time she got close, they pulled away, their laughter growing louder. Her voice trembled as she pleaded, but they ignored her, treating her pain like a game. I didn't think. I just moved. Hey, stop it! The moment I stepped in, the mood shifted. Their amusement faltered, their hands hesitating for just a second, just long enough for me to take back the purse. Without another word, they scattered, slipping away. Only then did I turn to the old woman. Up close, she looked even older than she had seemed from a distance. Her gray hair, dull and unkempt, clung to the sides of her deeply wrinkled face. Her eyes, sunken and weary, barely met mine. Her clothes, though outdated and threadbare, were surprisingly clean, as if she took great care despite having so little. I had seen her before. Recognition struck me like a sudden chill. She lived just a street away from my house, though she rarely interacted with anyone. I had heard the stories, whispers exchanged between neighbors, hushed tones filled with pity and unease. Her son had died young, only 20, taken by some cruel twist of fate. The grief had been too much for her. She had unraveled, slipping into a state that others called madness. Her husband had left soon after. Other times, she lingered by the large bins behind the grocery store, collecting discarded produce no one else wanted. Some nights, she scoured through the restaurant dumpsters, searching for scraps. Other times, she lingered by the large bins behind the grocery store, collecting discarded produce no one else wanted. People pitied her, but they also avoided her, as if sorrow itself was contagious. The air was heavy with the scent of rain as I stepped into the grocery store. The storm from earlier had left the pavement slick, the fluorescent lights inside flickering slightly as if struggling against the damp air. I grabbed the items on my mother's list, double-checking to make sure I had everything for the cake she planned to bake. As I stood in line at the checkout, my thoughts drifted back to the old lady, her frail frame, the haunted look in her eyes, the way she clutched her purse after I'd returned it to her. I wondered if she had eaten anything today. On impulse, I grabbed a few extra things: canned soup, fruit, a loaf of bread, and some cookies. Simple food. Something easy to store, something that would last. But when I stepped outside, she was gone. For a moment, I scanned the parking lot, expecting to see her lingering by the entrance or sitting on a nearby bench. But there was no sign of her. Then, further down the road, I spotted her. She walked slowly, her head bowed, as if the weight of the world pressed down on her shoulders. I hesitated, then made a decision. I pulled up beside her, lowered the window, and offered her a ride. She looked at me for a long moment before nodding. The car was silent, except for the rhythmic sound of raindrops against the windshield. The closer we got to her house, the more the neighborhood around us changed. The streets became narrower, the houses older. Some had windows covered with wooden planks, others had peeling paint, revealing the raw wood beneath. Her home was one of the smallest. A sagging roof, a rusted gate, an overgrown yard filled with things she had likely collected over time. I handed her the bag of food, expecting a simple thank you. But instead, she studied me carefully, as if seeing something beyond my face. "I can tell fortunes," she said with deep voice. I forced a polite smile. I didn't believe in that sort of thing, but there was something in her voice, something heavy, something knowing. She reached out her hand, palm up, an invitation. Maybe she was just lonely. Maybe she just wanted to talk to someone. So, against my better judgment, I placed my hand in hers. Her fingers were cold, rough, like old paper. She pressed her palm to mine and closed her eyes. Then she opened them. Her gaze snapped to mine, wide, sharp, with anger and fear twisting in her expression. My breath caught in my throat. Her grip on my hand tightened. "Do you own a red dress?" A chill ran down my spine. "And a black top? Boots?" Shock flickered through me. I nodded, barely managing to breathe. Those were exactly what I had planned to wear for my meetup tomorrow. Her whole body tensed. Her lips parted as if to speak, but then she shut them again, her jaw clenching. When she finally spoke, her voice was low and urgent, trembling at the edges. "Don't go. Stay home. If you go, you will die." The drive home was quiet. The eerie feeling clung to me long after I had pulled into my driveway, long after I had locked the door behind me. I tried to push it from my mind. She was just an old woman. She had lost so much. Maybe she was confused. Maybe she had mistaken me for someone else. But still, my mood was ruined. Hours passed, and I couldn't shake the unease pressing against my chest. I stared at the ceiling, turning her words over and over in my head. Then, at some point, I made my decision. I picked up my phone and typed out a message, apologizing and telling him I had to cancel. The reply came almost instantly, a flood of messages. Not concern, not understanding, but anger. Words that grew more vicious with every notification. I sat there gripping my phone, a knot forming in my stomach. I had never seen this side of him. It was just a canceled dinner. Why was he reacting like this? A sick feeling curled in my gut. After a long consideration, I blocked his number. The next evening, instead of meeting him, I went out with my parents. A quiet dinner, just as planned. Then we returned home, lit the candles, and cut my father's birthday cake. The normalcy of it all felt surreal. Then my phone buzzed. A notification from Facebook. The headline made my blood run cold. A man had been arrested, suspected of murder, 2 women found buried in his backyard. I clicked the link, and there he was. His picture, his name, the same man I had been supposed to meet. My stomach lurched. The cake, the laughter of my family, the warmth of the candles, it all blurred. The words on the screen swam together, but I could still make out the details. The victims had been lured out for a date. My breath came in short, sharp gasp. I would have been next. I barely slept that night. The thought looped in my head endlessly. What if I had gone? What if I had ignored her warning? Days passed, and the weight of it all still lingered. Then one evening, I saw her again, at the grocery store. She was standing by the entrance, looking through a small shelf of marked-down goods. I hesitated, then walked toward her. Before I could speak, she turned, her gaze meeting mine. The first thing she said was, "I cannot see your whole life. I can only squint and catch glimpses through the cracks of fate." Her gaze was deep and heavy, as if recalling something terrible. "I saw you lying on the floor, dying, wearing that black top and red dress. One boot was gone." She paused, a hint of exhaustion in her eyes, but also a trace of relief. "I'm happy you listened to me," she said, with a relieved smile.